Hello, welcome to the garden. A couple minutes early, just making sure everything's working because we're going to have a busy day today. Waiting for people to show up. Put my water over here where I can get it. My pens. Just getting things set up, making sure I know where my notes are and where my things are. And let's see. Okay. Oh, painter, hello. Oil painter. With her name sort of scrunched together. So I got 5 viewers on. And I'm kind of ready to go. So what I'm looking at today, this is kind of what this reading, kind of the flow of the show today, it kind of gives me an idea of what I need to do. And then we have a grounding in the past, restate has clarity, and that just basically means in this case, there's going to be a lot of rethinking going on for us in regards to what's going on in the garden. The dilemma isn't well defined. There's not any crushing great thing we have to do today, but we're going to get our values from the past. Our spirit is still transmuting, so that's kind of where they end. Oh, thank you, Carol. I'm glad you're intrigued with the garden. So am I, every day. The body crosses both earth and air, and that means to ground your thoughts, and physical changes are coming. But what was interesting was the mind fell right in the middle of all the squares, and I kind of had a feeling it was that kind of day. Thoughts are all important. Do not become tied to false energy. Final thoughts of situation are coming, and let go of limitations. So I think that sort of sets the tone for the day. We just got to put our thoughts out there, see what's coming up, see what's going on. And as any of you have been following my channel understand, tomorrow is 8/8 Lionsgate, and several different people now have put up shows about it. That's why I wanted to give you guys a chance to kind of look for those shows. Today, Kim Copeland put one up. It was very interesting. She talked to Mother Mary, and Mother Mary talked. You can go watch it. It's only like 5 minutes, but it's about how our energy goes through to be cleaned during this time, and we can let go of things that are weighing us down. And that was the message I got from my meditations this morning. I do have our stone of the day. We're going to do something fun today. We're not going to talk about... Usually I have a dream about a particular part of the garden, and I take you into that dream, and I kind of tell you how I interpret that, what that means I'm supposed to see in that space if a stone lands, and go for it, what it means. Well, last night's dream was such a trip, and I think it has something to do with the Lionsgate more than the board. And I just basically told my spirit guides, you either make it plain or net, baby, or I'm not writing that one down. I did write it down, so I know what I saw. And I'm hoping they'll clarify some of it, but it's very confusing. When you see crystals pouring out of people's ears, that's not a dream that translates well. Anyway, what I picked for today's stone out of my crystal reading cards was Brazilianite, and it's various colors of a kind of a limey green. I don't know if you can see. Sometimes computers don't. Translucent. It calls it translucent, opaque. Shush! Oh, the dog. The dog. Someone came to the door. Brazilianite has a range of translucent, opaque greens. Solar plexus and the crown are what it affects. The Brazilianite resonates the energy of flexibility, empowerment, and offering us to cross into a new path. I think that's just a brilliant stone to have the day before we go into Lionsgate, when we're supposed to be passing through and getting some understanding and letting go of some things. Ew, you wouldn't have liked it if you had to get as close to that guy's head as I had to see them coming out. It was gross. Anyway, um, it gently guides you to release tension, loosen the reins of divine light of the universe into your life. And I just think that's a perfect stone. And it's be flexible. You know, think about what changes you could be making and where they can come from and how you can flex into them. Because when I was thinking about being flexible, that means really having being in, with some inner peace and some self-awareness so that we can go on with our creative projects. Rigidity, if you're very rigid, you're going to break up into little pieces. You're not going to go with the flow. But if you have the flexibility, you can go with the flow, which is all kinds of fun and nice. Now let's see. Any questions? Okay, Carol, how you can use the Lionsgate, she's asking about Lionsgate opportunity. It's 8/8/21, so it's tomorrow, and there's the blessed times they say are 8 in the morning or 8 at night. But since that's sort of fluid throughout the day, depends on where you're at 8, you can use that as a goal to try and write something down. But it's a time to write out, and it's also a new moon. So it's like a new moon list, writing out your intentions for your new moon, things you want to plant. High lilac lantern, and it's a chance for you to go and to grow out into that. And that's why I'm saying I really think Kim Copeland's little presentation, a little 5 to 6 minute presentation, was really brilliant because she kind of summed it up in a drawing, what's going on. You're writing a list to let go of all the stuff that's been weighing you down and holding you back, and you're flowing through with a lot of other good, bright energy. And I really think some of the reasons so many of us have been having dark thoughts recently is because we've been trapped in this, that we know this portal's coming. And this portal is not just tomorrow. It actually starts the 28th of July and it goes until the 12th of August. What's going on that we know those dates? Our solar system rotates into a place where our sun is directly in line with Sirius, which is a very, very, very bright star in the sky. And it's sometimes called our soul sun, the star for our soul, like the sun is for our ego. So it's kind of like the spiritual awakening we can have, whereas the sun is more tied to I am who I am and our ego stuff. So if you can go and focus on being more flexible, a lot of times our inflexibility is caused by things we're carrying with us, either really carrying with us, or people or emotions or vibrations that we're carrying. And as we all know, we're moving into some new vibrational paths, and this is a good chance to kind of vacuum out the bad stuff and move on. I got questions in the community page, and I looked up to a half an hour ago, and these are the ones that I saw. Tammy wants to know, what clair are you? Well, the clairs are clairaudience, which is to hear, clairsentience is to just know, clairvoyance, which is to see. There's also a clairaliase, I think is what it's called, and that's when you smell something, there's no real fragrance there, but your brain is telling you to attach some significance to that smell. And then there's just good old common intuition, which clairs all fold into that. I found out that I have seen things, I have heard things, I have actually at times smelled fragrances that told me something was there that was different. It was actually very comforting, but it was a little different. And there's people who do where they hold objects. I'm blanking the term, but they hold an object and they sense something about the person from the object they hold. Clairsentient, which is what I am, I just know. And that's really the hardest to explain to people because they're going, how come you know that? Well, I just know. I've learned the vibrations and the image, what I see in my brain or what I see in my spirit or in my energy is very different when it's something that's coming from spirit than it is from something that I just know. Like yesterday I got nudged by Addie to call a friend of mine because they kind of needed to talk. And I didn't know that, but I called them, left them a message, and they called back. And guess what? They kind of needed to talk. So, oh yeah, everybody like, share, and put thumbs up, please, please, because then they spread it around. When I get lots of thumbs up, then they'll pick my video out to be shown on different YouTube, however YouTube thinks. Now YouTube is, I don't know what kind of Claire YouTube is, but it's clearly not where I am at times. Anyway, so what kind of Claire are you? If you hear things, you can hear your name. You can hear somebody actually say something. I've actually, Frank, one of my guardians, is actually, he'll tell me to stop, and I will hear it very plainly in my ear. Stop, don't go there. He's my guardian. He's on this side of my body. Addie is behind me on this side of my body. And he's the one who's sort of my guardian that stops me from doing stupid stuff. He has not always been as efficient as I would have liked, but he's pretty good. And so what you need to do, if you want to, if you go back in my shows, and I know, and this one's way back, but I did have a show, which Claire are you? And I spent almost 40 minutes going over all the Claires and all the ways they are. You can just Google them. And the Claire is CLAIR, and then it's voyance, audience, sentience, and if you put Claire in there, it'll spin them all out. There's like 11 different ones. There's some that I was like, well, why isn't that just knowing? I mean, they didn't make sense to me, so I didn't pay that much attention to them. But some people are very clearly one way or the other. Some people will look at a tarot card and they'll see their image will be very different for them, and then they'll know, oh, I need to pay attention more to that than this. Claircognizance, another one that there's, and that's just kind of like knowing. It's just like you read the book and you know the answer. That's why I didn't read books when I was in school, and everybody liked to study with me because I always knew what were going to be the questions on the test. Yes, we're all praying and sending out light, and hopefully when we go through this, the Lion's Gate, we can get more light on protecting our children. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw for the Tammy who wanted to know which Claire are you, and maybe by which sensory pattern it falls to on the garden, I can tell you. But it's really up to you what you see and feel. So, which Claire is Tammy? Huh. I think you're a gut intuition person. That's where your spirit stone landed. But you really have all of them. Your mind is on the apex of Tree of Life, crown chakra, which means information is constantly filtering in for you. The future, true, air and water. I think, lady, if you tap into it, you're going to have all of them. And then it's kind of take your pick. And that's the other thing I learned early when I was in my young psychic days. I went to a parapsychological place in Chicago, and they talked to me and they told me, you have a right to choose which direction you go in. Now, your biggest right was before you wrote your soul contract on your horoscope. But if you're in this earth and some part of being a sensitive is too sensitive for you, you have the right to tell the universe to take that away. And for the most part, it will. The only people I know that it doesn't do that for are physical mediums, and I don't know what their escape valve would be. I am not one, so I don't know, but I do understand they have a lot of trouble getting rid of it. Oh, well, I'm glad somebody's saying that since she's been involved with the garden, she's smelled Bulgarian roses, so she must really know what that is if she named it that way. And then, I'm not sure, it's me or spirit. Oh, you just have to release. It's kind of when I used to make movies and edit films, it was just like this. You suspend your disbelief. You just watch what's there and accept what's there. I think that sometimes people have a hard time doing that when it comes to dealing with their spirit and their sense of spirit, but trust me, you'll just know. I mean, and sometimes in the case of my brain, my governor's completely off my brain. I'll just say it, and then I'll go later, God, why did you? why did you say that to that person? And then they'll say, oh, nope, that was right. And so it's that kind of sense of relief. I'd suggest you look up some things on clairaudience. The book that I suggest people get if they want to sort of see journey into being a psychic is Being Your Own Genie. It's written by Radley Valentine. I get no money from the man for pushing that book. But, hi, Anastasia. I love your name. I just, when I read that book when I was 68, I said, oh God, I wish I had read this book years before, because he actually goes into all the clairs and all the different ways you can be sensitive. And it's very helpful because he talks about kind of how he wended his way through that, and he did a similar path to the one I did. Okay. Now, from the spiritual to what's on the ground. Sunshine wants to know if the carpet's going to be replaced by her management company, or if she's going to have to go get a carpet to go over the carpet. So we're going to see the situation around Sunshine's carpet. You got spirit way up, way off the beaten track, and when that happens, it means that's the stone I have to kind of interpret for you as the strongest, but the other ones just kind of give me more detail. And it says, balance your energy and move ahead. Spirit is not aligned yet with the situation. So I don't think there's an answer just yet exactly, but you're going to mentally come up with your own path forward on this. I think you already have one. You're open, and you're going to get some omens, and they're going to tell you today's the day to move on the management company to get it replaced or start looking for your own carpet. The other thing I'm sensing off this is you may come across a carpet to put over that carpet that's going to be such a steal of a deal, or maybe a piece that someone has in the back, like a big oriental rug, someone has in the back of a garage somewhere, and they really want to get rid of it, not because it's nasty and ratty, but because it doesn't suit their decor anymore. You've got something coming in that's going to be moving. There's something that's being brought forward towards you. You kind of like the old carpet, but you're sort of looking for something new. That's what your body being there is telling me. And clarity's going to come, and it's going to come quickly. It's going to come in the really near future. It's almost here. You have clarity about what you need. One of the paths that you have to choose from will become clear. So that's there, and it's in here, so it's in your thoughts. So what I would say is, you're not really set on whichever your spirit will accept, and your spirit's going to bring in the thing you need. Watch for omens and signs, and if you wake up one day and say, today's a good day to go talk to management and get this settled, that will get it settled. And then I see the possibility, either way, they'll either put in something that's prettier than you thought they would, or you will have something. Okay. And the lady with the Ouija board. Okay. I don't like Ouija boards. I used to work in a vintage shop, and they would get vintage Ouija boards in, and I would bless them and get them out of there as fast as possible. The problem with the Ouija board, and I've heard a couple of other psychics talk about this, so I'm not making this up out of whole cloth. A Ouija board really kind of involves too many people's energy in there, and you don't know how clear they are or what they're bringing in. I think it's also a path that has been created from the other side to learn to come in. I have used something like a Ouija board, which was just a glass with the alphabet under it. Yes, it does move. Yes, it does spell words. It felt very different than when I do my spiritual work. I don't like it. So, I mean, you've never used it, go get rid of it. Go find a vintage store. They'll buy it from you and sell it to somebody else, and then you get some money out of it. My daughter's given me permission to ask if she has gifts and if they're related to her health issues. Okay, we're going to do the situation around Katie, because to ask if she has gifts is a yes/no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spin. I'm going to lay out the stones for your daughter and see what they tell me, and they may tell me whether it's related to her health issues. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that one. I don't think they're making her sick. I think opening up the spiritual paths may help her get better, but I don't think they have anything to do. Her vision is very clouded at this time, and that could be because she is sick. But her illness comes from her mind just not letting go of the past. She's tied to some very false energy from the past. She's got the body right in the middle. That's going to be the most important stone. And what that body stone says in the middle, she needs to ground her thoughts, embody her past that's valuable. Physical changes are coming, and she needs to help by being grounded. Clarity is coming towards her in the very near future because she will soon have all the clarity she needs and she'll know how to move, but she's going to have to pick the path for herself. And her values are her controlling her own mind and what she feeds her mind are the path to her health. Her spirit is not necessarily part of it, although she could be very heart-centered. She probably needs to do some heart chakra work to clear that path up. But the reason her health problems are in a great deal tied to her idea that she's supposed to have them. Okay, thank you. How are you doing? Let's see what Leslie's guides have to say for her in the next month or two. Where's Leslie? What's the situation around Leslie for the next month or two? Oh, cool. Got other stones rolling in here. You've got some great, grand spiritual awakenings coming from you, towards you. And it's something that I think it's a past life thing, because when that shows up past, sometimes that means your past life. Look for patterns. Okay. Look for the patterns now, because value is going to be added as you move along. Right now you're unearthing a lot of clarity, and your mind's moving into a very interesting new space to be there with clarity in earth. Final solutions to your situations are coming, and the clarity says you have many paths ahead of you. You will find the correct one. And your body is... Okay, this is telling me you need to really, really ground your body. And the crown. That was our mailman. I'm going to tell you, you can hear my whole life by the dog's bark. When the stone falls here, all will become clear. So I see your clarity in your mind moving forward. I think you have some really good ideas what you can do in the next 2 months. And if you talk to your spirit guides, they can help you understand if you're seeing the signs correctly or not. Okay? And I'm attending a wedding. Okay. Carol, that's kind of a yes-no question, Carol, but I'm going to do the situation around you at the wedding. And thank you, love from Puerto Rico. Thank you, Vivian. People on this channel have heard about Vivian. Vivian tells me how to use... Oh, gosh, look at how your cards, you're all spread out so differently. I think you need to do what's going to make your body the most comfortable, and I think the people who are at the wedding are going to be understanding no matter which way it goes. You, how mobile are you when you have a walker? I've used a walker and I've used a wheelchair, and you know, walkers can be nice because you can kind of fold them up and you get to sit in one place, but you really need to decide how careful you can be with that. Your mind's misleading you, so don't overjudge the ability for your body to move through this, but everybody at that wedding is going to be so kind and so understanding and understand what it takes for you to show up and get up and do that when you have a physical challenge to be there. And I think in the near future, you're going to have one more chance to go somewhere, and that's going to totally, yeah. I think you're going to have a chance to go somewhere, and you're going to decide, boy, if I was at the wedding, this would be screwed up. And so you're going to make the right choice for yourself. But whichever one you make, it'll be okay. But I have a feeling you're hesitant about using a chair, and you shouldn't be. Let's see. I think a motorized chair would be great. If you have a good one and one you can maneuver well. I mean, if you have one that the brakes don't work, that might be a bit of a dilemma. Okay, thank you. If she's getting dizzy and having migraines, her spirits are breaking through for her, but she's tying into, oh, I'm dizzy and I have migraines. She needs to say thank you for sharing and let them go. If she keeps saying, oh, am I going to have another migraine now, that can help with another migraine. I hope she's going to see a doctor, because I have friends who have legitimate medical migraines that have nothing to do with spirit, and there are a lot of things they could do for you. Rosario, do my guides have a message for me? Whatever you're thinking about doing, girl, go for it. Absolutely go for it. You got the best spots on the board. You've been led wrong by your spirit, and you're having this urge to take a move, and you're not sure if it's right or not. Part of the reason you have hesitancy is because we don't do that. We can't do that. All of the shoulda, coulda, wouldas that have been planted in your brain, don't fall for it. You have a whole new set of values coming towards you. You have a real chance to make a change, so go for it. That's Rosario. Oh, everything I got. Currently, my 2 yippers are the same way. And then, I wouldn't want a parrot and 2 yipper dogs. Man, ooh, that's more than I can deal with. Okay, so I think I tried to tell a Ouija board lady without throwing the stones, because I don't even want to throw my stones on Ouija. No, thank you. Take the Ouija board and you can live without it. Now, the other fun thing I want to do today. Okay, we got one more question. What should I work on in my life? Okay. What's the situation about Sylvia's next move that's positive for her? Work on your third eye. You have a lot of impressions and you suppress them. You don't listen to them. You think, oh, that can't be true. That's not telling me the truth. But it really is. And that's because you come from a place where you were raised to believe that you can't do what you can do. What should you be working at? What work should you do? You should use the work that uses your most intuition. You've got third eye. You have your mind in your third eye. It means your third eye is really open and intense. When you want it to be, you dismiss it. Don't dismiss it. That's wrong. And that's why at times your body seems confused. I think when you dismiss your third eye, I think you have a part of your body that reacts. Like if your third eye told you to go do something, if your instincts told you to go do something and you didn't do it, then you'll have a slowdown on your right side, which is your doing side. It's saying, nope, you should have done the other thing, not this. Yes, those things can be spiritual. And what I'd do, Tammy, is I'd get her a nice piece of amethyst and have her work with that, because that helps clear that kind of energy. Carolee, my guides have a message for me today. Okay. Okay. Carolee's guides today. Oh, in a straight line. That's really odd. I've never had them sort of line up almost in a straight line before. But remember, I've only been reading this since May, so that may be. Every time something like that happens, I have to reconsider it. Okay. Your body's in your future, Carol. Something you've been thinking about doing with your body and you're thinking about doing in the future, I think you need to do it now. It's the changes you need are going to physically show up, physically be embodied in this work on this plane, not just in your head. And your clarity comes from balancing the many paths that are ahead of you with when your thoughts are clear, then you know exactly which path to take. Your spirit is really in an awakening mode. That may be part of why you asked that question. Your problem is that sometimes your mind clings on to the past. Your future's where it is. So let go of the things from the past. Lionsgate, I get no money from the universe for pumping this deal. Lionsgate is a great place to go and to expand and to let go of the things that are holding you in the past. So I would think, what grounds me in the past, and what mental thoughts do I hold on to the past that are limiting me? I, Andrea, if you're dealing with hard trauma, I'd go for broke. I'd go anywhere that I thought I could get help. Um, I can see if maybe the situation will tell me what you should think about more, but really you need to write your own Lionsgate list. The garden can't write that for you, so I'm going to do. Okay, it's telling you that your spirit is your path forward, that the clarity comes from not only seeing what you need to do, but speaking what you need to do. So when you get to the point where you understand what this trauma is, and you're right at the point where you're halfway letting go what tied your mind down and you're creating new thoughts to move forward, and right now you're very, very, very present in the midst of all this change, so it's a good time for you to do it. I think you can write one incredible list of an incredible list. You need to be grounded, though. Have a grounding stone, have a quartz crystal, have something you're holding when you're writing your list that will ground you. But right now, you are so you're at the meaning of the stone in this space means exactly values being purified right now. So this is a time for you to decide, what do you want to hold on to, what do you want to let go of. And by the way, you guys understand that when I'm reading for someone else, it could also mean that message goes for you. So if you're at a point where you're saying, is Lionsgate a good place for me to look at a trauma or something I've become aware of that I need to get rid of? Yes. Okay, Tammy, I'm just going to take this. I just sent Addie out to go find out about this. Your gifts are inherited mostly from your mother's side, but there were people on your father's side who were very sensitive too. His side never talked about it. The person you have an instinct about is the person in your family who that you inherited it from, and they said you need to connect with your own guides, and they will help lead you to that person. Oh, anybody who has a grid, if you want to do a grid, I actually had a woman who had a garden party and she reported back to me about how things turned out. She gave me some suggestions for how to tell people about dealing with the rocks. Your husband can use your garden. If he wants his own garden, he can have his own garden. Well, your grid, no, grids are different. Now, you can put your family on your grid, but it will be your grid and your energy that's in there. If he has not a wildly, but if he has a divergent set of needs for a grid, then he can contact me for a grid. The garden, anybody can play in. Okay, guys, speaking of grids, this is a perfect time to move. I have to make a grid for a lady who just spent the last 4 days fleeing from a wildfire. And she and I had already arranged for me to make her a grid. So I'm going to take you through the process of making her grid, because she wants to watch this, and she's at home in California. Actually, she's still at a friend's house hanging out till she gets there. She got change. And change didn't amaze us when she got this card, because she's getting ready to retire. She's got a lot of change coming up. And the day I went to set this up for her, I pulled some stones, and nothing looked right. Everything was giving me a headache, which is always a cue to me to get out of doing it that way. So I pulled her stuff and had it kind of stuck away, but I hadn't made any major decisions. So you're going to help me watch me make major decisions. Yes, hold a stone, a grounding stone, whichever one is good for you when you're making it. Now, as you can see, this is kind of a weird grid. Most of my grids look more like stars and have different things. This one doesn't, but I've made this before. It's called change, and what it is all the energy of these crystals circling around, but there's 5 special points, and that's because you're changing. 5 is always the number of change, and the frequency of change supports your ability to gracefully dance forward in the ever-changing nature of reality. So that's what we're going to build, guys. Okay, now, I always have choices. Because I have lots of rocks. But if you look at the center of this, it's got kind of this brownish reddish thing. And then it has blue on the top. Now, this is called Fancy Agate. which has the power of bringing a lot of energy together. And this blue is blue aventurine, which is the stone of luck. That's one option I have for making the center of her thing. The other one is to use this, which is a flat out aventurine. And if you notice, it's kind of a blue-gray, and then it's got a dot in the middle. Okay. Dot in the middle. I hope this doesn't bore you guys to tears. But, so, then you get, I can put a mother of pearl in the center. And that looks a lot like, more like what's in her thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold those two possibilities off, and then I'm going to put this one in the middle because it's the bigger one. And in case you're wondering why I do this in a pie plate, it's because the crystals move more easily on it. And then, when the next thing is, oh yeah, if your brain gets fuzzy and have trouble concentrating, that's going into 4D. We're going to put the yellow around that. And what I'm going to use for the yellow is citrine, which is a good luck stone. So if you're making major changes in your life, you probably want to have as much good luck as you can. So I don't have the stones touch, and I want them to circle around this. And I have chubby and skinny stones. He's a skinny stone. He's a skinny stone. He's a skinny stone. And I don't know why I call these stones he's, but that's what I'm getting. He's a skinny stone. Oh, and that's a pretty bright yellowy one. Okay, now, 1, 2, 3. That's 7, which is a spirit number. And when you're talking about change, you're talking about spirit. But if you look at this drawing, one of the change stars is right there. Okay? So, there's several different stones I can use because I built this before and had a lot of fun with it. But these are stones that focus and bring calm. One's Amazonite, which is a real pretty blue and kind of sparkly. One's Azurite. And this is when I get into Azurite. Is for the third eye and for clarification. It clears tension and confusions, opens the mind. The Amazonite is also, it's a healing stone, and it relieves anxiety. So they both kind of do the same thing. But I have to look at. I really hope this isn't boring everyone half to death. Okay. I have a lot of these little guys, but I'm just going to kind of let spirit, I'm one of these two. So, see, when she looks at her grid, this little light will have the Azurite. And the Azurite is the stone I said that I read to you about how it leads to clearing and settling and helping someone focus more clearly. We'll save the Amazonite for further out. Now, the next ring on my grid is kind of an orangey red but dark. And what I'm going to use, because I love the feeling, this is carnelian. And carnelian is a stone. It looks a lot like a jasper, which I also have some over here, but it's also a stone that's sort of translucent. Light can pass through it. So we're going to see how many of these we got. We got 1. Ooh, okay. A lot of clanking going on when I'm doing this. Okay, I got 2 more. So that's 6, and I have 4 more. So Anne's going to get a bunch of carnelian. And carnelian warms your heart, makes you feel better. It's a wonderful stone. Her Anne's sister, who's also a friend of mine, actually has a giant carnelian, and when you hold it in your hand, you can feel the energy almost purring through it. So this is Anne's carnelian. And in that ring, up here, I'm going to swap these out. Make the balance better. And trust me, when I pull these out tomorrow and look at them again before I set them permanently, I will look at it all over again. I have a troll. I have no idea what to do about trolls. Okay, well, if I have a troll and you're very Christian, I'm an Episcopalian. God bless you. And what I'm going to put out here, I think, is a shiny, you can see that in this ring, there is a star, and it's a bright, pretty star. And I'm going to put a beautiful piece of ice calcite, tiny ice calcite, tiny. And this guy, they call it ice calcite because it really looks like ice. It looks like a chip of ice. And so that's going there for Miss Anne. And then, now, I had a bit of a moral dilemma about, the outer ring, and I really want to do it with a stone called bronzite. Now, bronzite, it's ground up from real crystals, but it's man-made. And so what we're going to do is the outer ring we are going to make out of bronzite. Now, you can't see it, I don't think. But it glitters. Maybe you can see it. It glitters. It actually, and it looks like a stone. So we're going to put these. And I've used bronzite before because when it's in there, actually somebody told me their bronzite sometimes glows on their grid. Let's see. Now, that's that part, but we have this little one here, we have ice calcite here, we're going to have one of these here, one's going to be here, and I think I'm just going to kind of ooch it over there, but I'm going to have 3 more shiny things. And what I think I'm going to do for these is the biggest one is going to be mother of pearl, which brings purity. You're going to have another mother of pearl, which goes up here, right here. And I have to figure out what I want to put there. And I have to decide, do I want another piece of this? There's a lot of azurite out there, and some of it's bigger than others. And I think I'm going to put Amazonite out here because Amazonite's a beautiful stone. It kind of looks, it's kind of turquoisey looking. And I'm going to pick it out, roll them out. And they're telling me to put that piece of Amazonite in there for Anne, which is a settling stone. I had a friend I built a grid for who suffered from massive kinds of anxiety. You really want to be in there, don't you, you little critter? Get out. Who had a lot of anxiety, and so when I built her grid, I found some beautiful Amazonite, and in this ring, in the outer ring, I put the Amazonite to protect her. Now we decide about the center ring. Do you remember this is what it looks like? This is kind of option 1, the agate and the aventurine, or option 2, which is looks more like what is really at the center. Now, what I want you to do is vote 1 or 2 if you can get on a keyboard. And whatever we do, you're going to help build Miss Anne's grid. So, anybody want to vote? Type it in. Trolls' votes don't count. That's the first troll I've ever had. I'm not looking for them, trust me. If you guys want to vote 1 or 2, you can right now. I can strike this. This is 2. This is 1. Now I've got a tie. Either way. 2. Okay. I think we're going to go with 2. And actually, now that I have all the stones in there with the other rich reds on the outside, I think this thing turns to mud, unfortunately. So it goes back in the bag of special stones that make middle stones. And guys, if I build a grid, now there's been a lot of, okay, wait a minute. Maybe we're going back to 1. 1 either way, 2, 2, 2. 1's winning. I think I'm going to wait till the end before I make my mind up. So I'm going to, now you guys get to see the extreme ceremony with which I treat my grids. What I do is I build them one day, and then I put them away. I put the stones away in a handy dandy baggie, like this. When I first started doing this, I had to write down every single stone because I couldn't remember what they were. Now I know them all so well. I can very arrogantly scoop them up, although usually I take a picture of the rough draft. And Miss Ann's watching this, and I hope she likes it. We're getting a lot of votes, so I will let you guys know on my community page which one we went with. And that's building a grid, part 1. Of course, you've got to realize there's a whole lot that went on before that, such as I read Ann's cards. We've talked about what we wanted. I used these beautiful sacred geometry stone things, and the whole of her change thing says it's both an inward and an outward change, so that we can appreciate the sweet release from the old and birth of the new. So I think it's kind of perfect. We're building that. I'm going to be building that on Lionsgate Day because that's exactly what Lionsgate is about. And if you want to know where I get these forms from, there was a company, and for a while I could find free sacred geometry forms online. That's now a thing of the past, and sacred geometry and stones have become a big deal. So I paid not a whole lot of money, but I legally have the rights to use those forms and print them and use them as I want. Okay, so to recap, Ann's grid will either have aventurine in the middle as the main stone or agate. Then it'll have a little piece of aventurine or mother of pearl on top. And then it's got azurite, which clears away tension, confusion, opens the minds to new perspectives. Then it has the golden stone, which is a bright, engaging, warming energy, and it mixes jasper and a couple of other kinds of minerals together, and it's grounding for stability, for comfort, for security. She has a little piece of apatite on there. It's known for positive use of personal power to achieve her goals. So I think it kind of meets the standards of what Anne wants to have come out of change, and I know she'll like it. And I will send it with a wand and with the description on the back of every stone that's there. So I'm actually, Carol Bastion, I am about to have a Gridapalooza. As soon as I finish this, getting the verbiage for the garden, I'm going to have a Gridapalooza. I'm going to bring out all the pictures of my different grids. I'm going to talk about what elements are in them and how to best use them. It's really how you feel, because once you own the grid, it's yours. And it's not for me to tell you what to do with it. I sent out to all the people who had received grids from me saying, how's it going? Your grid working? Whatever. I did have one woman who wrote me and very honestly said, not a damn thing's changed. And then she was nice enough to say in there, but it's probably me. And I wrote her back and I said, it's just not time, but just keep working with it. I've had people just tell me, money poured through the door, everything changed, just massive changes. I had some people, one woman who got a grid for me went to Linda G's thing in Sedona, and that woman had the guts to fire a grid up in Sedona in one of the Vortice gardens. I think it's pretty strong. I mean, she could have gotten sucked right into that. Other people have told me that it's been slow and gradual. They see some changes, and then other times they sense it's going away. It's not going to be like a racehorse where it's going to run all the time. There are some people that happens for. Other people see the changes, and somebody said she wasn't getting any changes till she quit firing it up every day. Oh, you want to see about the Alaskan volcanoes? Is that really true? 3 Alaskan volcanoes are blowing up right now? Okay, let's go see. Let's do something that has to do with grounds and rocks, because these all came from volcanoes for the most part. Let's go see what's happening with the volcanoes. You're talking about your past round, your background rocks. Okay. Yes, huge changes are coming. This is when it's on its way. I don't know that they have a mental function, but I think our mental thoughts need to be on protecting the people who are near them. But spiritually, if you take that we're asking for a volcano, everything's in the I'm coming. You remember, Earth is where it's born and comes up and raises, and West is where it moves forward. So it's moving forward. Weirdly enough, nothing happened in fire or air, and you would think volcanoes would want to be in fire and air. You wouldn't think they want to be in water. It's getting help from the grounding elements. It's transmutation, which would be kind of a word I would use more with volcanoes, because they do transmute. They actually physically change things. Is not finished. It has clarity. It's definitely moving forward, and grounding changes. It's setting into some long-term patterns. So this may be with us for a while. Yeah, they're always watching Yellowstone. I think I told you guys my brother has a house on some land that's some of the closest is private land that's to near Yellowstone. If Yellowstone goes, I'm going to be one little brother short. Because when it goes, it's a caldera, and it's big time. So I'm hoping, I don't know what humans are not supposed to deal with that, but we can pray for them. I don't know if she's not here. She didn't type in anything. Okay, to close out for the day, since I took you on a trip into Gridland, I pulled a card from the Keepers of the Light, because I like the card I pulled yesterday. You should only fire your grid up once, but this one woman did it every day, and then finally she said, "What's wrong? It won't work." I said, "Quit firing it up." And as soon as she quit doing it every day, the grid started working. It's going to be a fun packed event when I do my Gridapalooza. I pulled Gaia for us today, which is interesting since we now have volcanoes blowing up around us. And about Gaia. Gaia is our Earth connection. Be mindful of the planet, come back to Earth, and stay grounded. Gaia is the Mother Earth. She is the keeper of the light who holds the planet in her hands and heart. Her kiss is on every animal's forehead. She is the life that moves among the plants, sweetness within the honey, and the force that encourages the bees to fly around and collect it. She loves, protects, and guides all beings. She asks us to love them too. How can we help? How can we help the planet? And the extended message for her is, you are blessed to receive Gaia, the Great Mother, today, because it shows that the earth itself, this image of Gaia, is protecting your path. You are strong, focused, and loving individuals. Stay grounded. Don't allow your imagination, your egos, your fears to run away with you. Ensure your choices are for the highest good. Gaia is also bringing her motherly love to you and encircling you in a cocoon of peace. If you have had troubles with the mother in your life, or feeling disconnected, or grieving your own mother, Guy will help you revitalize that connection, because it's really kind of important. When you've had mom issues, it's hard to believe it. And if you are a mother and are worrying about your duties, know that Guy is thanking you for all the hard work and commitment. The earth is blessed for having you. So that's Gaia. And since we got volcanoes blowing up, the earth is kind of kicking our butts a bit. But I hope that gives you all guidance. And when I do these readings, if I'm reading for somebody else and their situation sounds somewhat like yours, that means that at this point in time, the universe put you here to listen to that message. And so I'm really happy so many of you showed up. I think 1-1, but I'm going to go back and check my numbers because I'm trying to scratch them down here while I'm watching this. If you have any questions, I'm going to be back tomorrow. It's Lion Gate Day. If the difference is between you writing a decent list and really sitting down and talking to your guides about what you need on your list to enter into Lion's Gate, spend that time doing that. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I make and project my lists. And it's also a new moon. I'm going to talk a little bit about the new moon. I'm going to be reading on the board. I will not be building a grid because that's the last grid. I'm going to be gluing those together in the morning long before I see you. And I think, we do need to pray and put your energy towards the western states, towards the droughts, towards the fires, and see that if we can help our fellow citizens. But thank you for helping me with the grid. I appreciate it, and I'm sure Anne appreciates